Willem Bruintjes, geology has an impact on soil properties, soil quality, and water quality. Recently, we experienced floods in the Western Cape. Some of the farms' losses of soil caused water erosion, has caused small river gorges, which have destroyed farm roads and fruit crops planted areas. This has caused huge damages, which affected the irrigation systems and other infrastructure of fruit farms and others. What assistance can your department provide in such disaster incidents? What services do you provide for social benefit that links to food security in the agricultural space? This is a question for Mr. Mankis.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think maybe firstly to mention, obviously in terms of the interlinkages between various industries. I mean, obviously in the context of this forum discussion that we have, we've got geoscience that has got a role to play in terms of understanding soil chemistry, properties and behavior of soil. But then you also have, for instance, the engineering industry, especially civil and geotechnical engineering, transportation engineering. And then you also have the regulatory space from government, obviously in terms of allowing land use and land use planning, town planning practices, and the bylaws and policies that are in place for that. So I think it's not a straightforward answer, I think, to the broader problem. I know there's quite a number of developed areas in South Africa that had been developed in areas that are quite severely affected by inundation and flooding. But I think that interplay between the various industries are actually very important. So we all have our bit to contribute in understanding, what the ultimate impacts would be. But then, decisions at the end of the day resides with local authorities mainly, in terms of allowing development. I think oftentimes a lot of obvious problems can be sort of out-engineered by the civil and geotech engineers, structural engineers, to take these problems into account. But yeah, I think it's a broader question to be addressed. I think from the Council for Geosciences side, we focus on. We've actually been looking at land degradation and soil erosion now for probably the last 5 years or 6 years in more detail. And that's mainly to understand the drivers of soil erosion in specific geological domains. And what contributes to that. I think it's broadly understood as a scientific subject, but there were specific, questions that we wanted to answer, and that was especially in the Eastern Cape on some of the soils and things there are highly erodible. So we don't contribute, or I was just trying to get that specific word in the question, social benefit. Yeah, we don't provide social benefit, but I think a lot of the work that we do can have societal benefit at a broader scale. But then again, when it comes to development specific requirements, I think our South Africa are pretty well regulated, and there's good guidelines in that space to sort of guide development at that detailed scale, especially in the engineering sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, then Hartmut Brockner wants to ask a question. I'm just looking for you. I'm just looking at this. Can you tell us a bit more, Mr. Mankis, about the critical minerals? What have you found in South Africa? Do we have sufficient deposits of some of the critical minerals that are relevant at the moment?
Okay, no, thank you for that question. And I think let me maybe start here. I think the whole notion or sort of framing it as critical minerals had been around for some time now. And I believe it's mainly Australia, Canada, the US, China, and Europe in the main that have sort of officially published what they deem to be critical minerals for their own economic development. So I think in that context, maybe to mention that critical minerals or elements per country would obviously differ depending on every country's own developmental needs and priorities. So I think as South Africa, there were some discussions and sort of proposals put on the table, but not yet formally published or adopted yet as a national sort of list of critical minerals. But sort of speaking broadly to all of these new emerging minerals that are coming to the fore, for instance, your battery minerals and your minerals of the future, I think two very significant deposits that we have as South Africa is obviously what we call the Bushveld Igneous Complex. So that's all of our platinum group metals. It's a significant proportion of the global deposits are actually hosted in South Africa. And another one is the manganese from the Northern Cape. I believe we have about 70 to 80% of the world's resources in terms of manganese. Some of the other ones that we know occur in South Africa, but they've been largely underexplored because of sand cover in the Northern Cape that sort of makes it exciting for us as geoscientists, to go and try and uncover these treasures of the earth, so to speak. But we have quite, we believe, a number of base metals that are still yet to be discovered. Copper, nickel, lead, zinc. I've mentioned the lithium. I've recently noticed as well that there's been internationally quite a number of companies that have now, or mining industries that have caught onto the extraction of vanadium from titanium. And it's something that we've been looking at as well as the CGS a couple of years back. We know that in the Bushveld Igneous Complex, we've got a lot of vanadium that's sitting in those titanium plugs. So there's a lot of potential across the board. I think as South Africa, just to mention, obviously, rare earth elements as well. I think we've got quite significant deposits. In fact, the Steenkampskraal deposit in the Western Cape is one of the REE deposits with the highest concentrations globally. So I think our geology in South Africa is very diverse and very unique. So I think that's one of the things that really contributes to us being fortunate to have quite a broad range of these different minerals actually throughout the country. So yes, I think we've got pretty much most of them. It's just a matter of discovering them, the ones that are not yet discovered, and then evaluating whether they are actually economically viable or not. But that would be the downstream side of things.
Right. Thank you very much for that. May I ask, do the CGS and CSR work together? Are there areas of collaboration?
I can maybe go here. So we do have an existing agreement between the institutions, including other ones as well, but especially with the CSIR. I think in recent years we hadn't collaborated on specific projects yet. We've had some discussions and engagements more towards the sort of technology development side. Obviously, CSIR being quite at the forefront with this new fourth industrial revolution technologies. We obviously have some interest there as well. And then one active area of participation is with the CSIR's high performance computing unit. We use that quite a lot as well in terms of processing our data and yeah, we find that actually quite useful for our programs as well.
Okay.
But there's still more to be done. I think just to add on to that, as I've mentioned in my presentation as well, collaboration remains obviously quite important in this collaborative world that we live in now.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. Mr. Stradum, can I ask you about the integration of artificial intelligence? You talked about the small manufacturing business creation and support. And obviously, artificial intelligence is playing an increasingly important role. You did say that they have access to digital and automation technologies through the CSR. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
We have a team that is looking at a number of applications in the machine learning, artificial intelligence space. And as you probably know, there's many different applications possible. For example, predictive maintenance on those big machines. The moment the machine starts making different sounds or different types of vibrations, if you have the right technology, you can predict what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. So that's one kind of application. Then there's applications in image recognition and different types of signal recognition and so on that we're involved in. The one of the challenges that we have is that it's a technology that is difficult to verify that it actually works, and constantly works. So if you have a safety critical kind of application to prove to the regulators that this thing is reliable, etc., is quite challenging. So we're monitoring that space as well. So there are a few papers out now in the last year or two where people are proposing verification methods and so on. There's a tool that we use, which is the technology readiness assessment. So there's a specific tool, for example, being developed for assessing the readiness of machine learning-based and AI-based technologies. So we're keeping abreast of that and providing advice as far as we can to whoever needs to implement those technologies in products and in manufacturing processes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that.